Alright, so starting with the sinks here, this is very important. You'll need to know this for the health inspector guy. This first one on the left is wash, the middle one is rinse, and this one is sanitize. The wash, you just use the regular soap. Rinse, you don't need a whole lot of water. And the sanitize, you'll be using the red sanitizer, which I'll show later. Now, right now I'm pretending that we have ice cream in here. This is the end of a night. And when there's ice cream in there, pretend like there's ice cream in here right now, you'll pull out these rods.
It'll be a lot messier.
Yeah, it'll be a mess, so make sure you don't want to put them right here. You'll actually want to stick them right into the sink, into the wash. And then at this point, you'll want to make sure it's not dripping. And then you want to go ahead and empty out all the ice cream. And you want to put it on clean mode, which I'll show you here in a few minutes. After it's all completely emptied out and clean for the night, you want to start taking it apart. First you remove the bar on the side here like I did, and then you take these three, sit them up here. Now they can stay here the whole time because they don't have to be washed at all. Notice the crack here. This is from me. I left my mark there on my very first year. This means lots of money. And this thing broke because I wasn't paying attention the first year I put it together. So this whole piece costs about $900 to replace. So please be very careful when you're doing it. Remove these white things. These white pieces do have to go and be cleaned as well. Now then these things come out. Now notice two of them are the same and one of them is different. The different one here has a ring. Oh, if they get jammed, use this handle to kind of as a hammer to pull it out. Sometimes they will. Be careful with the rings there. They'll be taken and they need to be cleaned out as well. So those three pieces of each. And at this point, all you do is everything goes through the whole cycle of wash, and then you'll rinse it off in the middle sink and then put it in the sanitizer, which is the red packet, like I mentioned before. Next comes this big piece here. Now you'll have to remove the nuts. Now some of them will be really difficult. If they're really hard to move, you can take a paper towel or something, and that gives you a little grip, which can help as well. Once you get all of them taken, sit them up here with the handles because they don't get washed at all. They don't touch any food or ice cream. Next comes the actual piece here. It slides right off of the 4 bars. Be very careful with it. Walk really slow. Once again, notice the crack. It's very easy to drop. So it gets very greasy at night as well. So take your time with this piece. Be very careful with it as well. Stick it in there. Now, if this was a real evening, there'll be lots of ice cream on this thing. So you'll want to be very careful. There are 2 brushes inside of this blue bucket. You'll want to use the smaller one to actually go through and clean off each piece. Now every piece that has a ring, the rubber O-rings, they need to be very carefully scrubbed and washed because little pieces of ice cream get stuck inside. So make sure you're getting all pieces over and under, and they can be rinsed. These pieces are pretty much the last ones you'll need, so make sure they're just put away in a safe spot while you're cleaning everything else. These pieces aren't super important because they don't touch a lot of food, but they should be clean because they can get pretty dirty as well. So just make sure they get cleaned off pretty well. And once again, this big glass front piece is the most important piece. So make sure when you begin to scrub that piece that you're washing all of the grease off of there. It's still going to be a little greasy. Just do the best you can. Use that small brush and just get into the O-rings and scrub. Also notice all the various places that the brush will fit inside of. Around those rings, inside the little spots there's going to be ice cream all over this thing. The O-rings don't need to be taken off every night. Sometimes they can come off, other times they're very difficult, like this one, they won't come off. But if they do come off, it's perfectly fine to go in there and wash around them. So make sure this scrub brush gets put inside those 3 holes up top there. There's going to be a lot of ice cream inside. Once again, being very careful not to drop it inside the sink. And then there are 2 holes in the front that they kind of go to slant. You want to make sure you get in there as well. There's going to be a lot of ice cream inside those ones. Make sure when you get the brush in there that you're spinning it around, getting all the little pieces. Once that's done, you can rinse it off. And then carefully put it inside the sanitizer as well. And that's the first major step to taking it apart. The next step are these two huge pieces inside. Before we get to those, you've got the smaller metal pieces and these two small plastic pieces. Now these are very difficult sometimes. They're really slippery, and so just kind of get your finger in there, or you can use a paper towel to help you get those out. When you're taking the large pieces out, you want to be careful of several things. First of all, notice these white plastic pieces with springs. It's very easy for them to come off, so make sure you're holding it in a proper way so that all of them are staying on there. Also notice this black gasket that I just pulled out of the machine. That should be on the end as well. It's very easy for that to come off. Now it's taken me a while to discover this, but the way I'm holding it there is actually the perfect way to hold it, in a way that, and you can discover it for yourself, but it needs to be in a way that none of the pieces can fall off. You never want anything to touch the ground. That's a big problem. At this point, some days it'll be dirtier than other days depending on how much ice cream we did, but usually these white pieces need to be scrubbed pretty well with that same little scrub brush. Be very careful that you don't knock the springs out. They can be very hard to find. If you do, it's not a big deal. You can put them back in, but you don't want to lose those springs. That's a problem. Now this is the first of the two large shaft pieces. Definitely want to get inside here with the scrub brush because there's a lot of grease that we actually put on there. We actually put some lubricant in there, so you want to make sure you're getting all of that out. Be very careful and make sure you get all the pieces inside as well. It's easy to skip over this part, but a lot of ice cream gets stuck to that piece. And definitely up front, these are the blades that actually form the ice cream when it comes out. So there's going to be a lot of ice cream stuck to that. You want to clean that really well. Side note here, make sure your hands are clean while you're cleaning the whole machine. It's always good to wash your hands before you start and randomly throughout, especially if you get lots of ice cream and